Hey, uh, there was some big news in baseball this week, so I wanted to touch on it. First, well, for this video, I'm going to talk about the Hall of Fame vote. They had, baseball does they do the regular Hall of Fame vote for players like Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera. Recently, once you retire from baseball, 5 years later, you are eligible to be elected into the Hall of Fame. And you are on the ballot for 10 years as long as you keep meeting the 5% threshold. Once you either drop below that 5% threshold or you spend 10 years, you are no longer eligible for the Baseball Writers Association to vote you in. However, there is a Veterans Committee, and the way the Veterans Committee works is they do each vote by different eras. So, like, I don't know, there's 1970 to 1987, and it's usually defined by certain things, like the dead ball era, which was like pre-1920, I think, and then the live ball era. There are just multiple. I don't know exactly what the years are, and right now for the Veterans Committee, there are 16 people who vote. And in order for someone to get elected through the Veterans Committee, they need 12 of those, or 75%. And each person is allowed to vote for 4 people. So they're allowed to put 4 people on their ballot, up to 4 people. They don't have to put 4 people. But so the vote was held, I believe it was yesterday, Sunday, and 2 people got elected into the Hall of Fame. We have catcher Ted Simmons, who played from 1968 to 1988, and he played in the National League. The Cardinals, Brewers, and Braves. And, he was a very good catcher for the time. He wasn't amazing, but he was one of the better catchers who was playing at that time. And, not looking at his stats, I don't know if he was more of an offensive catcher. And I think that holds. And offensively, he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's consistently, he put up a good average, he put up a good on-base percentage, good slugging for a catcher for that time period, not the most home runs, not like it is now where everyone's hitting 20 home runs. And he wasn't known for his defense, I don't think. And, I always thought he should be in the Hall of Fame because there's a lot of players in the Hall of Fame that are worse than him. And I don't know if that's not really a great argument because, there are, if you're going to make that argument every time, then you're going to be allowing people in who didn't deserve to be in. So but I think he should definitely have been considered, and it's good. I like it. It's he didn't strike out a lot. And because, like I said, comparable to his position at the time, there wasn't a ton of guys who were better than him. So, for that reason alone, And then the other person elected into the Hall of Fame was Marvin Miller. So, if you're not familiar with Marvin Miller, that's because he's not a player. And most people aren't. But, so Marvin Miller was the union rep for the MLBPA in the 60s and 70s. And he basically helped Curt Flood get free agency for everyone. If you're not familiar with the Curt Flood story, Curt Flood was a very good player at the time who basically said, I want more. I don't want to. What happened was he was traded, and at the time, baseball teams basically owned the players. They could trade them wherever they wanted. They didn't have to give them an increase in salary if they didn't want. They basically owned you. There was no free agency. You were the team's property to do what they want with. They could keep you forever. They could trade you. It didn't matter. But Curt Flood, wasn't happy about that. He got traded to the Phillies, and he was like, I don't want to play here. So he ended up fighting, and long story short, he basically sacrificed his career for free agency, to get free agency for everyone. And Marvin Miller was the head of the MLBPA at the time. And Marvin Miller had played a big role in that. And we can see now that free agency has revolutionized the game. And really, in all sports, free agency is what everyone sort of looks forward to after the season's over. Where the big free agents can sign. So, it's made each sport a year-round sport, you could say. And I mean, I think Marvin Miller should have been inducted a long time ago, but, I don't know. But I'm glad he's in. It's a good thing that he's in. But there's one player who was eligible for the to be elected to the Veterans Committee, and that is Lou Whitaker. Lou Whitaker was a second baseman for the Detroit Tigers his whole career, and he played from 1977 to 1995. He basically did everything well. He was a good hitter, 276, 363, 426. Very solid line, especially for a second baseman. For the longest time, the middle positions weren't expected to provide much offense. They were basically defensive guys. And Lou Whitaker was a great defensive player, and he made up the second half of the double play duo with Alan Trammell. And, we see Alan Trammell just got into the Hall of Fame recently, but Lou Whitaker, I believe, fell off the ballot. I don't think he received the necessary votes. So, he didn't reach at that time it was 15 years. It was changed to 10 recently. I don't know why. But, I don't know. I just think he really deserves to be in. He had great seasons, was a great defense. He was really good offensively, really good defensively, just sort of the all-around package. And, I don't know why he wasn't voted in. Who knows? There's all kinds of snubs for the Hall of Fame, and we just don't know what people are thinking. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Baseball Writers Association with what they, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on. Just the fact that it took Mariano Rivera to get. Mariano Rivera was the first unanimously inducted Hall of Famer, which is crazy. Mariano Rivera is the best closer of all time. But, how is Babe Ruth not unanimously inducted into the Hall of Fame? What about Lou Gehrig? What about Joe DiMaggio? What about Mickey Mantle? What about Ted Williams? What about Bob Gibson? What about Nolan Ryan? What about Roger Clemens? That's a different story. He's not even in the Hall of Fame. But, Tom Seaver, about Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, what are these guys thinking that, you know, there's all kinds of petty stuff that goes on. Like, this guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, who cares? Either the guy's a Hall of Famer or the guy's not. But that's it. I mean, that's the Hall of Fame vote. I just figured that, you know, it was interesting, and I wanted to get it out there. So put a like in the, you know, like the video, comment, share it, and turn your notifications on, because there will be a couple of videos coming out this week. Like I said in the last video, because when the winter meetings are this week, and a lot of stuff is going to be happening, and surprisingly, something huge just happened, and I'm going to be recording another video that's going to be out also, so you guys will want to check that out. All right, guys, see ya.